Up, guys? It's a big weekend in NASCAR. It's Talladega. It's one of the most exciting races, most talked about races every single year. And this week I decided to do something a little bit different because Talladega is kind of crazy. It's a lot different than every single NASCAR track. Daytona and Talladega alike are very, very different than everything else you're going to see in NASCAR Draftkings world. So I decided to split this up into two videos. I decided to make a video that I'm doing right now that is just going over strategy and lineup breakdown, and then I'm also going to do the normal driver by driver. If I put both of them together, it'd be like an hour and a half, 2 hour long video, and I really don't want to record that, so I'm going to decide to split it up into two different videos. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. I think you can get a lot out of this. Talladega is different. So basically, everything you know about NASCAR DraftKings, even DraftKings DFS in general, just throw it away. It's gone. This is all new. This is completely different. It's Talladega. It's a wreck fest. It's crazy. Talladega is a race where anything can happen. Literally every single driver in the field can win. Every one of them. So you better be prepared to have the right players, the right data, and to figure this out. There's going to be drivers in the optimal lineup that you're going to be shocked by. I'll get into that in a second, but there's drivers that are going to be different this week. There's drivers that you're not going to expect to normally play. There's going to be salary left on the table, most likely in the winning lineup. We'll see how DraftKings prices salaries. I'm recording this video before salaries came out. I'm sort of expecting one of two things. I'm expecting DraftKings to either price all the guys started and back, no matter who they are, like Corey LaJoie, up, or they're just going to price them up a little bit. I sort of think that's what's going to happen. I think it'd be really wild if they decide to price like Corey LaJoie higher than like Kevin Harvick. But we'll see what happens. I mean, FanDuel's normal as usual. They already made their salaries. Everything's normal there. So there'll be a lot more chalk over there. But yeah, I'm interested to see what DraftKings does with their salaries once we find out the lineup tomorrow night. I'm going to try to get out that driver by driver video tomorrow night, but I mean, I don't know when time salary is going to come out. They come out really, really late. I'm probably just going to do it in the morning on Friday and get out that video for you, and the Xfinity video, which will just be one video. Probably won't be as much, but if you watch the Xfinity video, you can take away a lot of things from this that will help with lineup construction too. Before I get going, I do want to tell you guys to hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're enjoying this video, if you're watching this content. All that stuff really, really helps me out. Turn on that notification bell, leave a comment, share it with a friend. And anything helps me out here. I've been seeing a good bit of growth so far, and I just want to keep that going. Keep everything coming up. I'm really, really enjoying what I've been doing so far. I love making these videos, and we're going to keep going. And I also do have my Patreon will be being released this week for Talladega, so when that's done, I'm finished making that later today. I'll get that released out there. If you want to give me a follow on social media, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm very active there. I'll be willing to answer questions, willing to talk with you, make some stupid tweets here and there. It's a fun time, so you should come over and check out Twitter and Instagram. So let's get into it. All right, so for this video, I decided to pull every single optimal lineup from the restrictor plate tracks in the last 2 years. So you have 5 races at Daytona and 4 at Talladega. 2 at each season, and then we also have the 2020 Daytona 500. So I'm just going to go through all those lineups, all the optimal lineups from them. So you see, so this is the 2018 Daytona 500, and right off the bat, it looks interesting because you see 8,600 for the most expensive guy in the lineup. Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen at Daytona and Talladega. The restrictor plate tracks are wild. Ryan Blaney, 8,600. Austin Dillon for only 7,900. Eric Almirola, 7,700. Paul Menard, 7K. Chris Buescher, 6,100, and David Gilliland, 5,100. That's a total salary of $42,400. That's leaving $7,600 on the table. So that's a lot of money. I mean, like usually when I'm making DraftKings lines, and for the most part, the way to go is to not leave more than probably about $500 on the table. But now you have, I mean, at every single one of these optimal lineups, you have a ton of money left over. I mean, the most money left over in any lineup is right here at $2,200. That's a lot to be left on the table. So now I feel like DraftKings recently the way they've been pricing their players based on, or pricing their drivers based on starting position, they might price up guys so that this doesn't happen. And that's what I'm interested to see, if DraftKings prices up like Corey LaJoie, you're going to see in a bunch of optimal lineups. If they price up Corey LaJoie to like 8K, or if they just keep him down to 5 or 6K range. But if that's the case, Corey LaJoie is probably starting in the 20s, and he's definitely someone who could get up there and be in the optimal lineup. But you could also have 3 guys in that price range in the 20s in the optimal lineup, and then nobody in the 10K range because they're all starting up front. So it's an interesting thing to see. let me go through. I'm just gonna go through the drivers and their salaries and how much was left over on the table for all the optimal lineups. In 2018 Talladega, you had Joey Logano at 10.3, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 9.1, Eric Almirola at 8.1, Alex Bowman at 7.6, David Reagan at 6.3, and Chris Buescher at 6.1. At 2018 Daytona July race, you had Martin Truex Jr. at 9,600, Eric Jones at 81, Casey Kane at 62, AJ Allmendinger at 6K, Chris Buescher 5,800, Matt DiBenedetto at 5,400. 2018 Talladega, you had Joey Logano at 10.7, Eric Almirola at 8,800, Kyle Larson 8K, Paul Menard 7,800, Regan Smith 6,300, AJ Allmendinger 6,200. 2019 Daytona 500, Denny Hamlin at 10K, Kyle Busch 96K, or Kyle Busch 9.6K. That's really cheap for Kyle Busch. Wow. Eric Jones 8,200, Kyle Larson 7,800, Michael McDowell 5,900, and Ross Chastain at 4,800. So like you see, like in all these lineups, you have 2 or 3 guys down here at the bottom, like a 5,900 Michael McDowell and 4,800 Ross Chastain, and there's a bunch of salary left over. 2019 Talladega, you have Joey Logano at 11.2, Chase Elliott at 95. Ryan Newman 78, Ryan Preece 64, Brendan Gaughan 56, and Corey LaJoie 5,000. 2019 Daytona Summer Race. All right, this one's a little bit different. This race, I mean, it looks bad, and I mean, you're gonna look at this and be like, oh my God, what is going on in these races? Well, in this race, so this race got shortened by rain, and right before the rain started, Austin Dillon was in first place, and he caused a wreck that wrecked the entire field. Not all the cars were out, but everyone was involved, and all these guys were like in the very, very back, and they came back around and were in front when the caution came out. So, well, I mean, they're not in front, but they were up way farther in the position. So they were getting a ton of fantasy points for it, and then it started raining under the caution laps, and the race was over because it was past halfway. So that would not have been, if that race finished, I highly doubt that Matt DiBenedetto, Ty Dillon, Matt Tifft, Corey LaJoie, Justin Haley, and JJ Yeley would have been the optimal. But in that case, it was. I mean, look at their 3,300 total salary. I honestly doubt anyone even had that lineup that day. But that was the optimal that day. So I wouldn't look too much into this race alone to look for data for Daytona Talladega races. Then we got 2019 Talladega. You had Hamlin at 10.3, Blaney at 9K, Newman at 7,300, McDowell at 5,900, Ross Chastain at 5,600, Corey LaJoie at 5,500. And then the 2020 Daytona 500, you had Denny Hamlin at 10.4, Ryan Blaney at 9,300, Clint Boyer 8,600, Brendan Gaughan 7,200, Corey LaJoie 5,500, and David Reagan 5,200. So, I mean, it's you see the salary and how you do not need to fill up your whole salary cap to win this lineup, to win Daytona. So here's the thing that I'm seeing a lot of people are saying, that a lot of people have been saying this year, or this up in the past few days reading about Talladega race, is that you don't want to get someone to lead laps. That's not true, because there is a point to be made that you do not need laps to win this race. But if you look at 5 out of these 9 optimal lineups, which is over half, it's not a great number, but it's over half. The most laps led driver in that race was in the optimal lineup. And even, I think, 1 or 2 of the races, it was like this one with 37. I think someone had I think Keselowski had like 50 laps led, but you still had a 37 lap leader in the optimal lineup. So that shows that those are needed sometimes. They're not always needed because, of course, if someone leads 50 laps and then they wreck and earn 30th, they're not going to be in the optimal lineup anymore. But especially if they start up high. If they start like 40th, then that's a different story. But that's unrealistic, especially for this race with the way they're doing starting lineups. But I think a lot of people are just saying go for PD, go for PD, go for PD. Now if you're playing cash, yeah, go for the PD upside. That's all you need. You don't need to find the lap leader because it's not, most likely the lap leader is not going to be 118 where you're going to absolutely have to have him if you want to cash. That's not true. But if you want to win a tournament, you are going to want to have that lap leader in unless they wreck out. So I'm not saying you put in if you have a few guys that you think could lead the most laps at this race, that you put them in every single lineup. No, you probably need to make a few where they're not in it, where one of those guys aren't in it because they could wreck out. But I do feel like, especially at Talladega, if you look at the Talladega ones, 3 out of the 4 Talladega races, the most laps led driver either won the race or was top 5 and was in the optimal lineup. So I like the odds for Talladega to have that happen. Now if we look at where they're, yeah. Now let's go look at. I just have some numbers here. This is not This is just a few numbers down. Color coordinated doesn't look nice, but they're important numbers. Talladega and Daytona, they're places where you're gonna wreck a lot, and Daytona. in Talladega, I decided to get the stats of how many drivers did not finish the race. So you had 14, 14, 22, 5, 23, 18, 9, 20, 19. That's a lot of drivers wrecking out every single race. And it's just natural. It happens at Talladega and Daytona. I mean, there is the chance where, you have that, but you clearly see that. I mean, I don't even have to do data and do math to show you that that's an outlier. So that's not what I'm going to be expecting for this race. I'm going to be expecting there's going to be a lot of wrecks and a lot of cautions, and there's going to be a lot of drivers not finishing the race, which means there's going to be a ton of swings. There's already a ton of swings in NASCAR while the race is going on, but now it's going to be an insane amount of swings. You can have a guy go from first to 30th in a lap, and they can just get shuffled in the field. It's stuff like that. It's crazy. Stuff like that happens. But at the end of the race, there have been some noticeable trends. I already said 5 out of the 9 optimals had the most laps led, and at Dega 3 out of the 4 had the most laps led. Now, you look at drivers who started inside the top 10, on average .778 had a driver starting inside the top 10. So it can happen. Obviously, I mean, I think that was 7 out of 9. I'm pretty sure that's 7 out of 9 lineups had a driver inside the top 10. So I don't hate putting in 5 guys with PD upside, and then 1 guy inside the top 10 you think could lead laps, or you just think hangs around in there, maybe starts 10th and finishes second. That could just be what it needs to pay off. That's just something that can happen, especially if DraftKings decides to price down the guys that are not starting, that are starting towards the front. So stuff like that can happen. You had drivers that started 11th through 20th with .88, which is 8 out of 9 lineups. Had a driver in 8 drivers in the 9 lineups had starting position between 11 and 20th. So again, I mean, that's also not as high as the top 10. But the thing that's crazy is you had 2 drivers starting between 21 and 30th, and 2 drivers start between 31st and 40th in each optimal lineup. That's crazy. So that really shows you. I mean, that doesn't mean just only put 2 of them, but if we have, and that's where Corey LaJoie, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, these kind of drivers are going to be starting back there. I mean, and Ryan Preece, Michael McDowell. These are the kind of drivers that are going to be starting back there, and are guys that I think can get up front and, not up front, but at the end of the race when everyone's wrecked out are going to be there. I mean, Corey LaJoie has one of the better average finishes at Talladega and Daytona, just solely because he finishes the races for the most part. The guys that wreck out just don't have as good of an average finish. Now, the one thing I will be aware upon, if drivers 31 through 40, they have 2 in the optimal lineup, but I will say that, I mean, in the past we've had qualifying. There's no qualifying anymore right now. Everything's by the random draw, and so you don't have the some drivers who are better starting in the back. There's a few races where Eric Almirola started 40th and he's in the optimal lineup. Yeah, because he's starting 40th. But now, if you look at these optimal lineups, except for the race where everyone wrecked and it got rained out, ignore that. You do not have guys there's no one with the names of J.J. Yaley, Josh Bilicki, Brennan Poole, Joey Gase, Quinn Houff, B.J. McLeod, Timmy Hill. Reed Sorensen might be in this race too. Those quality of drivers are not going to be, most likely won't be in the optimal lineup. Yeah, I know they're starting in the back and they're probably going to hang around and not get into trouble, but Quinn Houff will somehow get into trouble. I guarantee that. But those are not going to be the guys who still really have the chance to, unless literally everyone wrecks, to get up front and be in the optimal lineup. It's going to be guys that are more like Michael McDowell, John Hunter Nemechek, Chris Buescher will probably start up higher, Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie, Cole Custer, Eric Almirola, Ty Dillon, Ryan Newman. Even Suarez. I don't hate Suarez as much this week. I still don't like him. I don't hate him as much. But DraftKings will probably make him $9K this week. But those are the kind of guys that are the guys that you're going to have starting towards the back that you're going to want to put in your lineups, because they're the guys at the end of the race who could be up front and at the end and win you that tournament. So you don't want to put those really crappy guys in there, but you want to put the 2 or 3 to of the Custers and the McDowells of the world to put in your lineup. Let's go back to the numbers some more. Actually, let's go back to optimal lineups some more. So we talked about the starting finish, but look at where the drivers are finishing in these optimal lineups. You have Ryan Blaney finishing 7th, 1st, 11th, 6th, 5th, 14th. All these spots are finishing high, and there are guys like AJ Allmendinger for that one. David Reagan for that one. That was Chris Buescher when he wasn't good. David Gilliland. These are guys that you just don't expect to be in the top 10 at the end of the race up high, but they are, because everyone wrecks out in these races. The amount of drivers that wreck in these races are insane. So But you are, I just want to really get across that if depending on what kind of contest you're playing, really depends on how you want to make lineups. If I'm playing to win a tournament, I want to make a lineup where I think there's a guy who can dominate a laps, and there's really barely any stats that are really going to show me which guys are really going to get up front and dominate this race. That's hard to predict here, so you're just going to want to pick, like, randomly put guys that are like starting in top 10, like Denny Hamlin for whatever reason. I mean, he's really good at these tracks. Joey Logano, just throw him in some lineups and then throw him with a bunch of PD guys and leave 5,000 on the table, if that's how DraftKings price their salaries. We'll talk about that in the driver by driver when salaries are out, when we can talk about again how I really feel that it's going to fare out for them, how I feel that their salary and their starting position and all of that. But I just think that if you want to win a tournament, you're going to want to get 5 PD guys and a guy who could lead laps. And, I mean, it could be wrong, but I would still, if I'm making 20 lineups, I'm making 15 of them with dominators and the other 5 without. That's just my preference. I can understand going 10 and 10, but that's just how I'm going to do it. But just one dominator. Like, I'm not saying, like, oh, don't put 2 in there, because no, on average, the most laps led on average at restrictor plate at Talladega is 64.5. Let me type in restrictor plates right here. Oh, I gotta drag it down. Crap. Here, I need these. Here. So the restrictor plates is 66.55, and the second most laps led 35.25. You don't need those guys. You need these, and those are valuable points. If that guy finishes in the top 5 or top 10, which usually they do, unless they wreck, then it's gonna be someone you need to have in the optimal. That's just how it is. So only one dominator, 5 PD guys. I would have, if I'm making my perfect lineup, I would probably go 1 dominator, then I'd go 2 guys that start outside the top. I would go, see, because this race, it's a little different because of the draw, so it all comes down to starting lineups, but I would have 5 guys starting 20th or back, because I think that's the most upside there. I mean, I would have a few lineups where I'm getting someone between the 11 and 20 range, but not really. And those are the kind of guys that can lead laps too. Like, I'm not saying like an Eric Jones can lead lap series 1 here before, and Eric Almirola can lead lap series 1 here. So those are the kind of guys, like, you need to like limit the guys you're starting that are starting inside the top 10 to which ones you really want to play. Like, I probably want to play Joey Logano. I probably want to play Brad Keselowski, and I probably want to play Denny Hamlin. But outside of that, Ryan Blaney, another one. But like, again, outside of that, Kyle Busch hasn't been great here. Like, you just got to like figure out which drivers you're going to want to play in your lineups that are starting inside the top 10, and then I'm going to get 4 guys starting past 20th, and then maybe 1 that's starting in the 11 to 20 range. That's how I'm making my lineups. If you're going cash, I go 6 guys, don't care about salary, all starting in the back. All the guys that you think can get up front that are not going to wreck. I mean, there's really no way of showing there's going to be a wreck or not. I mean, you just don't know, and people can pass like that. Like, I mean, there can be the guy leading on the last lap can end up finishing 15th, and he doesn't even wreck. So it's just stuff like that can happen. Daytona and Talladega are completely different. I really wanted to make this video to show how different they are. I'm really interested to see how DraftKings does make their salaries price their drivers, because it's really going to be important to decide how we're going to make lineups, because this could be the first Talladega race where you don't need to leave all this money on the table. And I mean, just depending on how they price drivers. So I think it's going to be a good race. I hope this video is really informing to you, and I really hope you got a lot out of it. If you would like to leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, all that really helps. Turn on the notification bell. All that really helps. I'm really grateful you guys are here. Thanks for watching. My driver by driver breakdown will be out either tomorrow night, but if it's tomorrow night, it's going to be late, so no one's probably going to even want to watch it at like 2 a.m., or it's going to be out in the morning on Monday or on Friday. So, and my Xfinity video will be out Friday as well. So, good luck to everybody playing this weekend. Be sure to check out my content coming up later. Be sure to check out my fantasy football video I recorded earlier today. All those are up on YouTube. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys make some money. I hope, if I'm not the one who makes money this week, I hope it's one of you guys. But I hope it's me. See you guys later.